Hey guys, good morning. Happy Fire Friday to you. So excited. It is the last day of May. Believe it or not, month is flying by, 31st, and market is heating up. Lots of good stuff going on there. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. And you are in for a treat. Speaking of a hot market, we have somebody who knows a thing or two about selling houses. Number one team in the state of Alabama. Man, having Gusty Gulas on here, I'm so pumped. Not only is he an incredible human, great husband, great dad. Got a chance to hang out with him and his family, run around where we Cabo, I guess, and some other places. But man, his experience in selling houses, his experience in leadership and growing a team, and building that team, building a brokerage, moving his brokerage over to EXP and restructuring everything and saying, hey, here's a model that makes a lot of sense for my people and for my business. But I'm going to have to restructure it, right? And so one of the things I really respected about Gusty when he came over, I got a chance to be part of those conversations during those early days, was the fact that Gusty, you didn't look to take your business and just carry it over and plop it on a new model and try to operate it the same way. You were smart enough and wise enough to look at it and say, here's a new model. How do I succeed at the highest level on this new model? And then you adjusted to it. And the last thing I'll say on that is I'll still always remember, the haters will always hate. People are afraid of change. I just remember the weights and dropping the weights off your back in that video. And you're like, hey, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my family, and I'm doing this for my agents. This is the right way to go. And it's been fun ever since. So Gusty, we appreciate you taking some time away and hanging out with us this morning, man.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. And that was we transitioned August of 2019 over to EXP, and I had a independent brokerage called Realty in Birmingham, Alabama. We had 3 offices. We peaked at 137 agents at the time at the independent brokerage. But I will tell you, running a brokerage is not fun. This part of it is so much more fun. I enjoy the coaching. I enjoy the mentorship. I do not enjoy the risk and the liability. And I'll tell you, that was one of the big reasons why we made the move over to EXP Realty, because it was just one of those things. You had all this risk, you had all this liability running a brokerage, and you also had I had 137 people, and you never knew what somebody was going to do. And we had to just deal with all of our profit went to attorneys and CPAs and all that stuff. So it really wasn't that profitable. And then I started looking at my exit strategy, and would I be like a merger and acquisition to another brokerage, or do I franchise? And just really looking at the opportunities. And I just said, hey, when I'm a little bit older, what do I want to really deal with in the brokerage world? And I finally realized running the brokerage really just was not for me. And I never really ended up wanting to start a brokerage. It just kind of organically happened. And so when EXP came across the table, I knew immediately that this was going to change the game, and it was going to put me as an independent broker in a really tough spot. And ultimately, the whole reason why I started a real estate brokerage was to put the agents in a better opportunity. And so when I saw EXP, I felt like it was a better opportunity for all of my agents. Now, granted, it still took me 2 years to make the move from the first time I saw it. But
wait, hold on, say that again.
Yeah.
For the cheap seats.
But I think timing is everything. And I think all things happen for a reason. So, we made the merger, we made the change. And, Dave was mentioning, I've got I feel like an infamous video where I'm working out the day after we made the announcement that we've merged, and I threw the weights off my back. And it really was like a huge amount of weight off of my shoulders. But it was a bloodbath in the making, because I had all of these recruiters trying to take all of my agents. I mean, like it was the wild, wild west. But ultimately, I knew I made the best decision for not only myself and my team, but it really was the decision was for all of my agents, whether they decided to take me up on it or not. And I look back, I mean, literally almost 5 years. I can't believe it's been almost 5 years. But a lot of these folks, if they would have just given me an opportunity, given me a chance, many of them would have double six figures just in their stock account if they would have just given it a try for doing literally the same thing that they do every single day, and that's showing and selling houses. So ultimately, that's the reason why we made the change, and that's the kind of a little bit of the backstory on the that video. But I'll give you a little bit of background. Obviously, my name is Gusty Gulas. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. Dave, I actually think you've got some agents in Birmingham. I think Benny down here
Yeah.
is down here. So for all of you that's in y'all's group, send deals to Benny. He's got a good reputation in our market. So but I run the number one team in the Birmingham market. It's called the Gusty Gulas Group. We've got 17 agents. Last year we sold 390 homes for a little over 100 million. And basically have been the top team since 2012. I've also been a part of the association. I was the president of our local association back in 2019. So, and then I was on the national board for a couple of years. Yeah, I can talk about the NAR settlement stuff and all that fun. But I've just been, what I've really focused and worked hard on is, especially in the Birmingham market, when people think real estate, I want people to think of my name. And luckily, I've got a unique name, and so people do remember it. But I mean, that was my vision, my game plan to say, like, if you think Birmingham real estate, you think Gusty Gulas. And so we've done what I think a pretty good job of marketing our team, our name. And so I've ran the team. So that's one business, the Gusty Gulas Group. And then, obviously before EXP, we were running a brokerage. And that was my other business. And then before that, I was one of the top agents at the largest brokerage in Alabama. And then also, I'm obviously a family man, been married for 16 years, and I've got two kids. I got Trip 8 and Max 5. So these days we live at the baseball fields. So it's real estate and baseball. But that's a little bit of background on me. Also, I went to Alabama, Roll Tide. If you see videos and you talk about people in Alabama, we literally say Roll Tide about to everything. After we say a blessing, it usually ends up with a Roll Tide after, unless you're an Auburn fan. And
Which, didn't you recently receive an additional degree?
It was really hard for me, actually. But I just got my master's in real estate development from Auburn. But I do not say those words. They're fighting chant. But yeah, I wave a unique flag because I have diplomas from both of the universities. But yeah, it's been fun.
Colors after graduation.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like I had to wear red underneath the.
That's right. That's right.
But that's a little bit about me. Dave wanted me to kind of talk a little bit about, how to grow your, I guess, organization. And when we merged our independent brokerage, I'll touch base that we were a top 500 Real Trends indie brokerage. So we had a lot of clout in the market. We were number 3 in units, number 4 in volume in our market. So we had a really good name in our market. Actually, our brokerage had more market share than EXP had at the time. So when we made the change and made the merger, everybody was like, what just happened? And again, it was in the best interest of all the agents, in my opinion. So we rolled the brokerage in. We did not keep the name Brick Realty. We believed that you had to buy in to the brand of EXP. And now my team still runs Gusty Gulas Group, brokered by EXP Realty, but all the single agents that were at our brokerage ran either as their team at EXP Realty, or they were just an independent brokerage or independent agent at EXP. So, you've got to buy in, and if you really want to be able to grow some sort of revenue share organization, I think one of the things that you've got to do is you've got to absolutely know the ins and the outs of the model. You've got to know what the offer is. You've got to know why it actually works for agents, why it's more beneficial than the other 200 brokerages in town.
Right.
Um, what I can tell you is, typically we bring people over, and it's not typically about money. Typically, if they come over for money, they're going to leave for money. Typically, people come over for relationships, and I think money is a part of the decision making process, but it's not typically the number one piece. At least that's what I found through agent recruitment over a decade and a half. But you've got to know the model. You got to know how you compete with everybody else in town. Um, I think other things that you've got to really do is you've got to know who your upline is. I think you've got to create relationships with everybody in your upline because, like for example, if you're an agent, and you're trying to bring somebody on that was, we'll say, a Keller Williams agent. Well, you've got Dave in here that it was Mr. Keller who. So, he knows really the ins and outs of everything as part of that model. Well, I was never a KW agent, so I know a little bit about the model, but I don't know the ins and the outs and everything. So, if you're having a conversation with somebody that might be a KW agent, it's really good to tee them up to somebody that's, say, in your upline or your organization that can talk that talk. And I think that's really important. Or if you're talking with somebody that was a Remax, well, can you put them in touch with a former Remax agent? Things like that. I think up in your neck in the woods, you got Long and Foster. Well, Dave, you can talk about Long and Foster too. But you got to be able to relate what people know. And because one of the big things when people talk about making a change or making a move to another brand, how is it going to impact their bottom dollar? How is it going to impact their actual real estate sales? Because that's really the most important thing, because revenue share does not matter if people aren't selling houses. So how is it going to impact their bottom line? And they want to understand, all right, if I make a change from Long and Foster to EXP, what does that really mean to me? And what does my day-to-day going to change? So it's important for you to know your upline. It's important to know what their experience is, who have they been previously aligned with, and tap into their genius, tap into their experience, tap into their knowledge, build those relationships, and not only your upline, like build relationships with other agents. One of the things I think over the years, what I've seen has been super powerful is the amount of referrals that get passed around within EXP. And so, I would encourage you, whether it's in your organization or not, build relationships with. I've got great relationships with people all around the country and are able to send out referrals to those folks. Go to events. I think it's really important to go to events. I mean, a couple of years ago, literally about 5 days before Shareholder Summit, I'd gotten a bicycle wreck. I had 2 braces on. I looked like I'd been beat up, and I was still at Shareholder Summit back when that was still a thing. And man, I looked awful, but I was there to support the company, and I knew how important it was to be there. It's also important to know who's in charge. Like, if you haven't met, the CEO, Leo Pereira, you need to have a conversation with him. You need to meet him. You need to know, who's in operations. You need to know who is your DMB. Heck, it's really good to know brokers of different states so that, if you've got somebody that's going to be coming on board, for us, like if I've got somebody coming on board in Tennessee or Georgia, I need to have a relationship or some sort of relationship with that broker so that we can just kind of make an easy transition for that agent. So knowing who corporate is and what they do, I think is always important. And also, I try to recruit to corporate. I've got one of my ex-team members is now in the legal department because his background was he was an attorney and then got his real estate license, and then now he's in the legal department. That's his full-time job because he loves it. I've brought on multiple brokers to the state. We've had multiple people get into different positions, whether it's in compliance or whether it's in support. So I'm always looking. I mean, literally earlier this week, I was looking at the jobs board to see, all right, based on the jobs that are opening, who could potentially be a match for anybody I know. And so I've tried to recruit. And I've been successful, and I have not been successful, but at least try. Um, I'll touch on the upline for a minute. We, my sponsor is a lady by the name of Jenny Williams. She's in Birmingham. She was a ex uh, KW team leader. She also was ran a coaching company for about 10 years. And we had a just amazing relationship and mentorship, mentor mentee. And I knew she would, for me, was the best partner for me. And so basically, what we do with our organization is we're basically partners within our organization. And I know what I'm good at, I know what she is good at. And that's really where we focus our time with our group. So I mainly work with our teams because I run a team. I know the team language, I know the team dynamics, I know the stress of the team. I'll typically will be in the conversations with people that are our biggest influencers because whether they've ran brokerages, whether they've been recruiters, or whether they've got an influencer status or whatever, I'm usually working with them. And then I also work as kind of our corporate liaison. And like when Dave was in leadership, it was great to have Dave in leadership because I could reach out to Dave and say, who do I need to contact for this? And Dave could be, hey, go here. And that was a huge help. And so that's kind of how I work. And then Jenny works pretty much hand in hand with running our trainings and working with our single agents. She hits a different demographic than I am, both in terms of she's a female, I'm a male, but she's a little bit older than I am. And so she can just talk a little bit different language than I can talk. And so that's why our partnership has really done very well, because we can hit a lot of different age groups and all things real estate. So we go, and from a recruitment standpoint, it's kind of like, hey, you get a double package when you come with us. And we have not we kind of made the decision early on that we were not going to necessarily completely rely on our upline. Obviously, we know who our upline is. And if we need to pull that card, we will if we need to. But we wanted to run our organization like it was only on our backs because at the end of the day, it is only on your back. Can you reach out to others? Absolutely. But I wanted to make sure it was on me or Jenny and through that. So our group basically is run by us, and our upline obviously benefits and greatly, and we appreciate all of our upline. One of the things that we did right out of the gate, and you can probably look up videos and search my name and EXP Realty, but the first thing that we did was we built a vision, and our vision in 2019, right out of the gate, was to have 25% market share by 2025. So again, EXP in our market was a less than 1% market share. And so I'm coming out saying we're going to get 25% market share by 2025. Boy, was that like throwing a grenade in the brokerage market. It got a lot of people's attention. And that's what you want to do when you're making, you want to make a big splash. It made everybody look. It made everybody instantly know who EXP was with our transition. While, obviously, I think, again, people don't move. I believe their number one reason for money. I believe people move towards a vision or a greater goal, or the belief that their business can go to another level through some sort of coaching, mentorship, accountability, whatever. So we built that vision of, hey, together we can do 25% market share by 2025. Well, almost the first thing that happens within a couple of weeks is one of the top Remax agents in the state reaches out, and that has been there over 20 years, and everybody knows him, everybody loves him, and he's like, man, if you're making a move and you're folding your brokerage in, I need to know about this. And luckily, within a couple of weeks, he made the change, and he's built an organization over 100, which has been huge for us as part of our growth. And so I'll give a shout out to him. Chad Beasley is just an amazing one of our business partners. But it was part of that vision, in that just getting that microphone and just screaming it. It got people's attention, and it got the phones to ring. And one of the funny things is people think that we are just dialing for dollars, trying to recruit agents. And the funny part is, I mean, I think I've probably made less than 20 phone calls to try to recruit an agent to EXP in 5 years. So the perception is we're going out there, we're trying to recruiting, but realistically, people just reach out to us. And I think that's the best way to recruit. I think that's the best way that we have maintained a really strong organization of, at least for my group, is 360 combined with Jenny's. We've got about 450. And that's why we haven't seen a lot of exodus. We are a strong group. We work together. We train together. We mastermind together. We try to work together from a standpoint of whether you're in Alabama or any of the other 12 states that we're in. We want to have this as inclusive as possible, because the way this model works is we all win when you're closing a deal. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about this model. So we built that vision. We are not at 25%, but we did get up to, I think we're at like 6.5 or 7% market share, which puts us I think we're in the top two. So I'm completely happy with that. I did realize 25% market share is pretty crazy.
Yeah, the big number.
But I have big eyes and I have big goals, and so, but it got people's attention, and I got 25% of the goal. So how about that? 25 by 25. 25.
There you go.
But that's a little bit about how we grew. I mean, it really came down to relationships. Most people reached out directly to us. I'm not a hard sell in the South. It's not, to me, everybody, when you leave a broker, it's like breaking up with a boyfriend or girlfriend, and it's hard. In the South, everybody's like real nice. And so, like, even if I show somebody that they can make $50,000 more a year, it's really hard to break up with their broker girlfriend or boyfriend. And so sometimes it just takes time, and it takes, their broker or their company to piss them off. And then all of a sudden at a 4:30 on Friday, you get the number one team in the market. It happens. But it's those relationships that you build. And whether you're taking them out to coffee, whether you're taking people out to lunch, I think main thing is wanting to have, you're investing in their business, whether they're with you or not, and actually caring about how they're doing. And I think if you're actually, just realistically have a mental investment and interest in their business, and telling them what they can do to get better, whether it benefits you or not, when the time comes, the opportunity will be there, and you will be able to attract them to the company. So we don't necessarily recruit, we attract. And that's just really worked well for us. So that's how we've grown. Now, how do we stay in touch with people? This is pretty difficult, and this can be hard because everybody communicates differently. But we really focus on, we hit them 3 different ways. We hit them through email, we hit them through text, and we hit them through our private Facebook group. Because you never know what somebody's going to be checking. I mean, emails to me are just white noise. I mean, I get, I don't know, 250 plus a day. So text is really the best thing. So I think you've got to have a good game plan for text. We use something called Hit 'em Up, HITEMUP. I think it costs like $5 a month. And all we do is, once we have a new agent that comes on board, we store that number into our hit 'em up system. And so whenever we talk about our, whatever we've got going on for the week, we're letting them know, hey, we've got our Monday mastermind, and here's the topic. Or we've got, like, for example, can I share my screen? I'll kind of show what we've got going on this month.
Yeah, man. Let me make you a
All right,
co-host here.
cool.
There you go. You should be good.
Sweet. All right. Bam. Okay. Can y'all see my screen? Can y'all see my email?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So here's our training calendar for June. So we use Google Groups. So we have what we call ourselves the X Team or Team Accelerate. So we use Google Groups. So we put all of our emails of our agents in Google Groups. So I can just send one email and it spits it out to everybody. And this is the email that went out. X Team June training calendar. Save the dates. This month we've got an amazing lineup. So on Monday, I'm going to be talking about follow-up processes and building a daily game plan. The following Monday, Jenny's going to talk about thinking globally. So actually, she's going to the EXP International event that I think is this weekend.
Oh, cool. In Portugal?
Yeah, in Portugal. So
Nice.
I think she left yesterday or today. So then she does what's called Accelerate Coaching. So how to get 3 new clients in the next 7 days. We're going to do a virtual happy hour on the 11th at 4 p.m. So we actually did virtual happy hours a lot during COVID, because what did you get to do? Drink a lot, eat a lot, and play on Zoom. So we're doing a virtual happy hour so that we can probably, talk about all of our wins and losses in real estate, as we enjoy doing. And then we've got Pete Middleton that's going to be coming on board on the 17th. That's going to be talking about luxury. If you don't know about EXP Luxury, you need to look into it, because if you've got agents that are out there that focus on luxury, you need to know all the ins and outs of luxury. So we've got Pete coming in and talking with us. And then Jenny's going to talk about feeling confident in your knowledge. And then she's going to be traveling up to Huntsville, which is about an hour and a half north of us. And she's going to be doing an in-person event called Create a Better Home Buying Experience for Your Buyers. And then we're going to finish it off with Kyle Draper, who is focuses on social media, and he's going to talk about Rethink Everything Social. So I say that because we have a plan, and you never know who's going to show up, but we're constantly out there trying to think of, what is the market telling us? What do our agents need? And we really take the mindset of, this is our brokerage, and EXP is the vehicle for us to run our brokerage and talk about what we want our agents doing and all those kind of things. So that's kind of our mindset. And so, but the more that you communicate and let them know about the events, that is the best way to get people on. Like right now, we've got 15 people that are on this Zoom, and you just never know who's going to be here live. I highly recommend live. I highly recommend having your camera on. I highly recommend you being engaged. And I think those are also ways, like, if you are known as that person that's going to be a part of the group, you're probably going to be the one that gets the referrals too. So that's something to think about as well. So not only from a leadership standpoint, do you send out the emails, the texts, do the masterminds, do the Facebook groups, but I think you've got to connect with people directly, and you've got to check in on their businesses, because I think you've always got to recruit your agents. I could do a better job of it. I think we can all do a better job of just continuing to re-recruit our agents, because if we're not doing it, guess what? Somebody probably else is, because there are people that are truly paid to do it. And I think the hardest part for people to leave is the relationship. So if you've got a great relationship with the agents, that's how you get them, but that's also how you can lose them. So that's a little bit of my take of, staying in touch with our people. And, Dave, I'd say, we can open it up for questions, and I'm happy to, answer anything, whether
Awesome.
it's
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
attracting EXP, NAR, or buying and selling houses.
Yeah, love it. I've got a couple questions I want to throw out for you based on what you were saying, and then we'll open the floor up for everybody else. So, guys, be thinking about what questions you might have for Gusty, and we'll give you a chance to ask your questions in a minute. Wanted to hit on a couple of things. I mean, one, you had hit a point with your own brokerage at about 137 agents. How long did it take you to get to 137 agents at your brokerage? Like, how many years was that to get to that point?
Yeah, it was basically 3 years to get
Okay.
to 137.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
And then
So, I mean, we were moving pretty quick,
yeah,
but I can tell you we got to 137 at EXP a lot quicker.
right. I was gonna say, yeah, in less than 5 years, you guys combined are at 450. So it's like 320% growth, over that time period, which is pretty amazing. And
Well, and also, like, when you're running a brokerage, you've got one place. Or we we had three in our market, but like I had people that wanted to franchise, license, all that stuff, and no. And I just realized, like, with this model, you can take it anywhere. I mean, I've got, we brought on the number one team in Santa Barbara, California. Why? Relationship.
yeah,
I would have never been able to do that at my brokerage. So, like, literally, what we make in revenue share a monthly basis is more than I netted as a brokerage owner, and I don't have all the risk and liability.
yeah.
Huge difference.
That's a huge difference. Huge difference. Yeah, exactly. And you've got a massive leverage of all of the staff at EXP from a corporate level and a state level to give support. So your agents are actually getting a higher level of support than you could provide, just because the sheer numbers of staffing. But you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to worry about it, and you don't have to backfill it if somebody leaves or anything else like that. Yeah, it's a big difference. Yeah, I love the thing you said, come out and make a splash, and you guys said, hey, I want to go get 25%. Doesn't matter whether you're at 25% or not. Making those statements and coming over was bold. You weren't shy about it. And I think that's sometimes where people are like, people are afraid of, like, oh, I don't want to be seen as a recruiter. It's not about recruiting. It's not about anything else. It's saying, hey, what's the impact on the market you're going to make? What's your group going to be? What's going to happen here? We're going to have the top agents. The top agents are going to be here. They're going to be doing this. We're going to produce this. This is how we're going to change the market in our area. We're going to bring all of these opportunities into agents in this location.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's bold statement.
Yeah. It definitely was bold. But it was also a bold choice to, roll in a big brokerage. And, I mean, me and my wife had to have some pretty good discussions.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had some tough. I mean, it was a tough decision. And but I follow my gut, and to me, it was a no brainer for me, because I knew what it could do for other people. I mean, like, literally, we've had people buy cars, we've had people pay off second mortgages. We've had people, just from the benefits, do IVF, to try to build a family. There has been so many more opportunities that I could have ever provided as an independent brokerage.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part, I think people really do care a little too much about what other people think. And that's probably been one of my superpowers, is I just stopped caring about what other people think, because they don't pay my bills. And if I cared about what everybody thought, I'd never be where I'm at today. I would have never started a brokerage. I would have never done a lot of things, because people always kind of want to put you in that little cage or put you in that little place. Well, I just think bigger than everybody else. I mean, Birmingham is a big, small town. And I just did not want to be that person that was just stuck to a city, or having to fit into a box. I like to play in the gray area, and I like to play outside of the box. It's way more fun. and I like to do different things. I like to bring different opportunities, but ultimately I like to put, from a I think I've learned to be a really, what I think is a pretty good teacher and a mentor. And I like to put people in better opportunities. And I think if I cared about what other people thought about what I did, I would have never gotten there. So I think if you're coming over, I think you do have to make it known. I think you've got to just not worry about other people's feelings, because ultimately you have to pay your own bills, and everybody has an opinion, but unfortunately those people that have their opinions are not putting money into your pocketbook, and they are not paying your bills.
Yeah, and it would be a challenge for people to find a right way to put it, but a kind of a more challenging transition than what you had. I mean, when you like you said, the vultures swarmed in, everybody was picking at your people were saying things, doing whatever. I mean, I remember trying to get the transition and working when you trying to get everyone over, and everyone else was calling, and we're trying to, so yeah, it was hard. It was hard. And you stayed the course. You were committed. You said, hey, I'm doing this. I believe in it. And you went for it. But the point being that it wasn't like, hey, like no one bought your brokerage, right? And you saw the opportunity and moved it through difficult circumstances. And, so if people go, oh, that person wouldn't join or this, whatever, whatever imaginary barriers they put up for other people, don't, because once you see it, the right people are going to make that move regardless. So don't say no for people, because a lot of people were saying no for you. Go, why would he's got the biggest brokerage around? He's, they're super successful. Why would they make this move?
Yeah. I had internal leadership saying no.
Yeah.
Why? Because they were not going to get a paycheck. Now, and which is understandable. However, they were going to get a paycheck because they were about to get some revenue share, and that was something that they could will to their kids. And again, I think it comes back to they cared more about what other people thought than me walking away from a lot of money and in an M&A situation to saying, hey, I'm merging for free, and this is really the best opportunity for you. But again, change is scary for people. I think that's that's why, like, the onboarding process has got to be seamless, and that's where the relationship comes in, because not everything is going to be perfect. There's going to be bumps in the roads. Somebody's going to be used to something that you have no idea about, and so, but ultimately, I knew it was in the best interest of my agents, and the ones that came on board have done pretty well.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it's been a great move for them. So there's two other things I want to point on real quick, and then we'll open up for other questions. One was, the concept of having what I call a running partner, right? You and Jenny, you guys have, different personalities, different approaches, and it works really well. There's good synergy. And I think it's really important. You got Brent and James, right? You look at all the Bonnies and Clydes, you have all of the running partners that do really well together. So find your running partner, because I think that's a really great thing. It's a leverage point. You're bringing in different personalities, and it's not all on one person. So that's a really great thing to do. But the other is, you guys have created a bunch of stuff, your training classes and other ways that you pour into people and help people. But like all the people in your organization, they don't all have to go out and create their own, right? They get to leverage yours and use yours. So a lot of people think if I start, if I come over, or if I want to go build my revenue share organization, I have to go create all these things. But the fact of the matter is, like, it didn't, the way that your upline is structured, it didn't really exist for you, especially around your area. There wasn't a lot of stuff to have access to because their growth style was different, right? So you guys had to, so you were kind of you were the first, it's like the first generation to go to college or whatever. Like, you guys were the ones to go, hey, we're going to do this. But the beauty is that for the people in the rest of your organization, until they have a different way that they want to grow, they get to utilize your stuff. So
Yep.
don't reinvent the wheel. The people that you're bringing on, the people they're bringing on, they don't all have to go out and create their own training classes or their own whatever. They just invite people to your stuff.
Yeah, what I mean, early on, I would for probably 6 to 9 months, every Sunday night I do a Facebook Live video, and I would talk about my top 5 recommendations of our classes that were in EXP World. And so, I
Yeah.
had people that would just raise their hand saying, "Hey, that looks like a pretty good class. Can I, join?" And I'd send them an invite to the class. So I think inviting people to training events, I think is a very good way. Like if all right, you've got your relationships, so why first thing I do, make a list of who you would actually like to partner with, get to know their business or kind of have an understanding of their business, and match it to whether Dave has put something together, or whether corporate has put something together, or whoever. Invite them to those things, because you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can tap into whatever is going on, and the perfect thing is, like, all the events that are in the EXP World. I mean, there are a lot of trainings, and there are a lot of good trainings.
Yeah.
And so, utilize whatever is going on and just say, hey, like Lars, I know Lars is a big deal. He does a lot of luxury. Well, Pete Middleton is doing a huge luxury training. Lars, I think you'd be a great fit to come to this training. No obligation. So, and then Lars would come in and be like, "Holy cow, this was pretty dang good."
Yep. And I remember those videos you were putting out, and you were just highlighting those weren't even your classes, those were EXP classes. You would go into the training calendar for EXP as a company and go, which classes, because there's a ton of classes all the time happening. So you would go into those classes and the class list and pick the ones that you thought people would want. And then you would do a video. It's kind of like doing your hot sheet for investors or for somebody else. And here are all the best houses on the market right now, the best investment opportunities right now. Here are the best classes for what agents need right now for today's market that's happening. And you put it out there for everybody, and agents from other agents in your own org would know, and it would help them. But agents not with EXP would, like you said, they were reaching out to you saying, hey, can I jump in on that class? And you go, yeah, anybody can go to these, give them a link, and they go in and do it. That's a really easy, soft touch. And you're making it about production. You're not making about anything else. And they're bringing them in to see the value of being part of EXP. I thought that was brilliant. I loved when you started doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I should have kept it up.
Well, hey, you can always
I don't
fire
know.
it back up
Maybe
again.
restart this thing. What do we do?
I'm stealing it. I'm doing it now.
There you go. I like it.
So let's open it up, guys. What questions do you have? We'll go ahead and you can type it in, or you can open your mic, whatever you want to do.
Hey, Gusty, Kyle Lounsbury here. You talked about relationships, and people come over for relationships and not necessarily for money, and people stay for relationships. How are you creating atmospheres where those relationships can grow stronger, especially when someone gets started, or they can feel that or see that, especially being an online brokerage and some people in other states at a distance? How are you creating atmospheres where people connect?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we've got a happy hour coming in about a week and a half. We try to do some lunch and learns locally. And it's not necessarily geared towards like EXP explains. It's just geared towards like, here, how to get 3 clients in the next 7 days. But it's also a way for us to get together. I think it really depends on the agent, but I think if you are inviting them to things or hey, just checking in and just say, hey, how's the business for the week? I mean, that's last week. Yeah, and we've got a big team leader in our market that's in our group, and I mean, literally, I was just saying like, hey, who do you have for this, and what are you seeing with your team, and I'm just trying to learn about what they've got going on in their business, and I think if you care about their business, that says a lot about you as a person, and if you're trying to help them, I think that will go a long way. So I would, and then from a social media standpoint, anytime that people that are in our group, I try to like their stuff. I try to comment on their stuff. Like Chad does a great job at doing social media. And so I try to, like, he commented about being the top agent in Chelsea, Alabama for like he celebrated his 500th closing in Chelsea, Alabama. And I was like, that is huge. And I do call him the unofficial mayor of Chelsea. And I literally think if he went to be mayor, I think he could get mayor. But I'm always commenting, and whether it's they're in your group or not, I think if you actually care about people, comment on their stuff and like their stuff, and people look at that, whether they say they do or not. They're looking at how many people, how many likes they got. They're looking at who is liking their stuff too.
Yep, for sure. Love it. What else?
Hey, Gusty, it's Lars here in Virginia. How are you?
The luxury guy. No, I don't know if you are, but
Hopefully
hopefully you
Thank
are.
you. I got a promotion today.
There you go.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, and I hope it's not too hot down there in Alabama.
We're good today.
Tell us, if you could, about the process. So you said you took a couple of years from the time you first heard about eXp Realty to when you actually made the switch. Can you describe the process that you went through, and then also what got you to finally jump off the fence and join?
Yeah, that's a great question. How do I explain 2 years and 2 minutes? So right around the time that EXP was presented to me, again, as an independent brokerage, I'm looking at what are my risks, my liabilities, like what's coming at me. So I needed to know what may be coming into our market. So that was initially the thought process of why to look at it. When I saw it, I was like, oh crap, like this could kick my butt in my market. So I just knew I had to keep a close eye on it. Right around that same time, I had to deal with an agent and dealing with sexual harassment. And I just never thought that somebody else's actions could really almost take down my whole business, take down my everything I've built. And that was really kind of a turning point for me of knowing like no matter how long you've built something, one small little thing could shut the doors. And that was really my turning point of trying to go down a path of what does my future look like? And am I truly building wealth? I know I'm building risk. I know I'm building liability. Am I really building wealth? Well, I really wasn't. And I was building a lot of headache. And so after that, I started looking a little bit more at my options. What were my options? Well, merge with EXP, merge with another company. Actually, I looked at multiple merges. I had some franchises that wanted to partner. I just knew that wasn't a fit. But I had one company that they made me 5 offers, and the last offer would have amounted anywhere between 1.2 and 1.6 million for the company over a 3-year period, based on if all the agents stayed and their payouts and all that stuff. And I just didn't think that was the right move. And ultimately, I mean, I merged with EXP for free. So when I turned down that company and that offer, they went after one of my brokers and gave them a franchise, and actually gutted one of my offices. And literally, I was on a plane to NAR. I was by the time from liftoff to landing, I had like almost 30 agents gone. And that's just the realness of running a brokerage. Like the bad part about running a brokerage is people can walk out the door for, a small reason or no reason at all. Hence you're not building, there's really not a wealth building opportunity. So that was a big, and that made me really rethink, like, why am I doing this? And so right around the time, right after that happened, my youngest was about to be born. I took the beginning of 2019, and I said, look, I'm not going to drink for the first 45 days. I'm going to really get some clarity on if I'm making a really big decision or not. I've got, here in a couple weeks, I've got my youngest being born. And so through that process of really doing some soul searching and really trying to build, like, what do I want my life to look like? Where do I want to, what does later on look like? Later on was not running a brokerage. So I brought in my COO and my VP of ops, and who were both agents. One was running a team, and I talked to them. I just said, hey, look, this is truly in everybody's best interest. And after that conversation, evidently I did not do a good job of selling it. After that conversation, one of them literally called one of our competitors saying, like, I need a job. And so it really just became kind of a crap storm. They were calling my wife, saying this is a bad idea. They were calling my best friend saying that this was a bad idea. But ultimately, I knew this was in the best interest of not only my agents, but it was in the best interest of my family. And so again, that's like February, March of 19, and we didn't make the change till August. And so what ended up happening is, we started, like, people started leaving. It sucked. And my COO at the time, I said, well, if you're so smart and you know how to turn this around, then you run the company. Congratulations, you're the CEO. And I said, you make the decisions. You think you're so smart, go for it. And so she started running it, and she realized this is not an easy chore. And so the writing was on the wall. Like, we had to make a change. We had to make a move. And so we had our transition game plan, which was a great transition game plan. All of our leadership was on board. And, things break sometimes. And unfortunately, through that transition, I ended up losing one whole office. So luckily, my team stayed with me, and I had probably another 25 agents stay. So so I lost about half of my company in the transition. I say that all to say, that was kind of the bookends of it. But I say that all because I think timing is everything, Lars. You can always look back and say, should I have done it, 2 years ago? Absolutely, probably should have done it. But I think it was just, my time was right then. And again, I think a lot of these people look back and, they would have, multiple six figures of stock account if they would have just tried and trusted the process. And so, it didn't work out for some of those folks. And so it is what it is.
Now, Gusty, I'd venture to guess that between your stock and your revenue share, that you have come out ahead of any of the offers to buy your brokerage. And those were all contingent.
Yeah.
Those were all contingent on all of those agents staying and producing. Which
That's
the
right.
same thing would have happened if you had sold to someone else. The vultures would still come in. People would have left, and all that kind of stuff. So you never would have.
Well, so what is my worst case scenario? Like,
Yeah.
if something happens to me and my wife, who takes over the company? So what is my succession plan? And so running a broker, like, is my kid going to take it over? So I just realized this is a way better succession plan than anything else that we could have done. So, 5 years later, still the best decision. I wouldn't change it. Obviously I wish more people would have made the transition with me, but it is what it is. I'm happy. I have less risk, less liability, and but ultimately I'm much happier.
Yeah, you got a whole lot of freedom too, which is
Yes.
which is kind of the point, because then you get to spend the time with your family. You get to spend time doing the things that you want to do. Allowed you to go out and go get a really cool new degree, and you're doing a lot of neat things out there. It's kind of big picture business stuff where you're able to, invest and do some cool stuff. So you're able to build more wealth and do it on your terms and on your time frame, and
100%.
spend the time with the family and stuff. Where before, we know the life of whether you're running a big team and how much time that takes, or you're running a brokerage and how much time that takes. It's 24/7. That's not a 9 to 5.
No.
So awesome, man. Well, this has been great, guys. Hopefully, Gusty's story is helpful to you. Gusty, that whole process and everything else, really, really amazing. Love what you're doing with your group. So guys, you got a friend out there in Gusty. So, if he can ever help you out, I know he'll take your call. I'm going to say that for you, Gusty, because I know what kind of person you are.
Always happy to help. And I wanted to share some, vulnerable stuff, because I think it's realistic, it's authentic, and, it's not easy. And this trip has not been easy. But what I can tell you is this model is in the best interest of agents. And so, don't care about what other people say, present them with opportunity, and everything will go well. Always happy to help.
I love it. Gusty, thank you, man, for your time. I appreciate it. Say hi to your family. Guys, have an awesome Friday. We'll see you soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks again, Gusty.
You bet.